security bill this country has ever seen. This bill secures the border from President Biden's record crossings, record carelessness, and record chaos. Securing the border is one of the top priorities, and it is the priorities of the leaders who are behind me. I do want to thank Mario Diaz-Balart, Tom McClintock, Jim Jordan, Mark Green, Mike McCall, Elise Stefanik, and Tom Emmer. I want to give a special thanks to Steve Scalise. Not only did he help pass this bill on the floor, but he has been working for 2 years to educate the members, leading Codels to the border and working with our task forces and our committees. And I want to thank every single member of this conference. This is not something easy to do. By passing H.R. 2, House Republicans have shown we're focused on addressing our nation's biggest challenges. By contrast, the White House has 2 years to plan for the end of Title 42. We all knew the deadline, but the White House produced no plan, missed the deadline, and bumbled into another crisis. Even President Biden, who has only been to the border one time in 50 years, says this: there is going to be chaos for a little while. Since the White House keeps missing deadlines, I want you to know how we did it. We identified the problem. Rather than ignoring it, we listened to the American people. And then we took action. Numerous members of our conference for the last 4 years have been traveling to the border, not just to meet with border agents, but meet with the elected officials. It didn't matter what party they were registered. To meet with local ranchers, landowners, businessmen and women. To meet with the people being affected day in and day out. To school board members, where their schools had to be closed because of the chases and the cars coming across. To the families that lost loved ones because of the fentanyl that's been coming across. I remember down with Juan Ciscomani with the new mayor, telling a story of his own daughter, calling her and telling her that she can't go outside, another car chase was coming by. This car chase didn't end in the manner we all wish it would. It killed a woman he told us about. She was on her way to her retirement dinner, where she had retiring from work of all those years to spend the time with her grandchildren, to travel the country, ended because the border was not secure. We even had our committees, when we took the majority, not to stay in Washington to gather all your information, but to travel to the border itself. If you're going to write a bill about the border, you ought to learn firsthand. Homeland, Judiciary. We talked to Border Patrol agents, heard the frustration in their voices, and saw the exhaustion in their faces. But the House Democrats, who even belonged to the committee, refused to go. One of the ranking members, Nadler, made fun of us going to it, said it didn't mean anything. I think you ought to look to the family members who've lost their children to fentanyl and tell them that it didn't mean anything. If they had attended, I believe they would have voted with us. You cannot listen to what we had heard and vote against this bill today. The do-nothing Democrats must not continue to repeat this pattern on the debt limit. Tomorrow will be the 100th day since I first sat down with the President on February 1st to identify a problem, to know the deadline would be coming. We all know that the deadline for default is June 1st. Why are we in this situation? Because inflation Democrats added $6 trillion. They harmed every single family by bringing inflation to our country. And now 3 of the 4 largest bank failures in American history has happened just in a couple months. We watch people bringing home their paycheck. It doesn't go as far. We watch Democrats treat the exact same way. The House passed a plan to avoid the default. We cap spending, we grow the economy, and we responsibly raise the debt limit. And there's only 15 days to go. How has the President handled this? the exact same way he's handled the border. He ignores it and hopes it goes away. But President Biden and Senator Schumer are stuck on no. They have no plan, no proposed savings, and no clue. Apparently, President Biden doesn't want a deal. He wants a default. Mr. President, my message is very simple. Do not miss another deadline like you just missed on Title 42. Our country cannot afford it. The Republicans will always act responsibly and will also always look for solutions. With that, let me bring up our majority leader whose works the House Republicans continue to offer solutions. We all knew this date was going to be here, and the White House ignored it. We will not ignore the problems, and we'll continue to work for the American public. That was our commitment to America. It's the commitment we're keeping. With that, let's open up for questions. Yes, Jake.
Do you give us your sense on where the tops are on the debt ceiling?
We just passed H.R. 2, and you want to talk debt ceiling. Well, that's a good question because it's another issue. It's another issue that the president ignored. The staff has met the last 2 days. We think it's productive for the staff to meet again. I have not seen from there a seriousness of the White House that they want a deal. It seems like they want a default more than they want a deal. Yes. The White House didn't cancel the meeting. All of the leaders decided it's probably in the best of our interest to let the staff meet again before we get back together. It's not a delay. I think from numerous different things. One, couldn't be there tomorrow. I don't think there's enough progress for the leaders to get back together. I don't know having certain ones in the room that's even productive. I think just as I sat down with the president on February 1st, look, we want to be responsible. We want to be sensible. He ignored us now for 100 days. He thought this problem would go away like the border. We didn't want to sit back, just like with the border, so we went to work and we raised the debt ceiling because we're the only people that can guarantee that we won't hit default because we've raised it. The Senate has done nothing. They've done nothing with the border. They've done nothing with this. They've done nothing with trying to protect children in their schools with a Parents' Bill of Rights. What have they done about fentanyl? I mean, issue after issue after issue, they continue to ignore them, and we won't. Yes.
Expect that there will be
I expect there'll be a meeting next week, yeah.
And then just secondly, on immigration, Senators Sinema and Tillis say that your bill is a good starting point, but they don't think there are 60 votes for it. That being said, they have, at least to deal with the Title 42 expiration, have a bipartisan bill that would at least extend that authority for the next 2 years. They say they've been talking to members here in the House. Is that something you're open to?
Look, we once again just passed a bill. The Senate has done nothing, but I'm thankful that you have bipartisan work over in the Senate that they're willing to do something on this. I mean, I think Senator Sinema said that the president has ignored this for 2 years. She sees it every day in her state. And just like any other bill, we will pass a bill, the Senate could pass a bill, and we could go to conference and see what we can actually solve. Yes.
So let me understand. You obviously pushed a long time for these meetings with the president.
Mm-hmm.
So now you said all 4 members and the president of the White House canceled the meeting, which was on the meeting here. If you were pushing so long for these negotiations and things aren't far enough along in these negotiations for the 5 of you to get together, doesn't that say that that wasn't what needed to happen? I mean, that this could have been, it worked out with talks behind the scenes to start.
How do you take something so simple and try to make it complicated? We simply,
But you argued for.
yeah, for 100 days.
You had a meeting the other day.
Yeah.
But now there's not going to be a meeting tomorrow. That doesn't seem to square with what the call was for 97 minutes.
You're trying to make news out of nothing. So we simply had staff meet. They haven't made progress. We were going to meet on Friday. One of the leaders couldn't be there. They have a funeral they have to attend. So we didn't think it was going to be productive. So we thought, let's meet next week. But you can spin it any way you want. I think the rest of America will understand what it is. Yes.
Comfortable with your party's leading presidential candidate not calling Putin a war criminal and not taking sides in Russia versus Ukraine?
What are you referring to?
Trump last night, he would not.
Look, I think we have been very clear about the atrocities that Russia and Putin have presented to this world. I think we've been very clear in our votes as well. So I think we lead with exactly what we've been doing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few questions. There was an issue some Republican members had with the bill regarding designating cartels as terrorist groups. They cited that it would allow migrants to claim asylum more easily. Was there a way that both concerns could have been addressed? And the second question is, if the House doesn't get that document they subpoenaed the FBI for regarding Biden allegedly taking a bribe to a foreign official, will the House vote to hold Director Ray contempt of Congress? And finally, what was your reaction to Congresswoman Slade having an anti-Israel ban on the Senate side, courtesy of Senator Sanders?
You get them all worked in. Pretty good. I'll just work in reverse order. I think Tlaib has mentioned many times before, it almost feels like there's anti-Semitism, and I will never allow that to happen in this body or on this floor. I've watched members on the other side of the aisle say that time and again, and we will always stand up against that no matter where it is. I just came back from a bipartisan group of members going to the 75th anniversary of Israel. When Israel was created, 11 minutes later, America recognized them. And I think the world is a better place for it. I do not think what Tlaib wanted to do should have happened in this chambers. Unfortunately, you've got a senator on the other side that I guess agrees with her and against the rest of the world. Your other question was about a subpoena to the FBI. There are checks and balances, and there is oversight. Congress has a right to have that knowledge, and I will have a conversation with Director Ray about that and make sure that happens. Your last question was about cartels. Yes, we debate all different parts, and the one thing that I wanted to do is to have an opportunity to truly focus on the cartels, because if any of you have spent time at the border, you will find we do not have operational control. Juan Ciscomani had to leave, but in his district is Tucson. The Sinaloa cartels control Tucson, Arizona. If you go to Tucson, Arizona, you cannot cross the border without paying the Sinaloa. One individual tried to do it on his own. He wasn't captured by our border agents. He was captured by the cartel, beaten, thrown in the back of the car, never found again. If you cross on that area, every single person is dressed the same. They have a camouflage outfit on. Their shoes have rug on the bottom. It is the #1 places of getaways. 71% of people across there are single males. They don't run up to our border agents, they run from them. We actually have to, because it's a big territory, every single day we risk the lives of our American people in the military and on the borders, putting helicopters up trying to rescue people up on the cliffs many times, each and every day. The real challenge here as well is we have to do a lot of this aerial. When the numbers continued to peak, you know what the administration did? They cut the number of balloons that we had, that we could count the number of people that were coming over illegally. So they want to tell you that the numbers are down when it's only growing more. You catch fentanyl time and again from these individuals. So yeah, spend a little time there. You'll be able to see. Yes, ma'am.
Speaker McCarthy, you guys want to cut about $130 billion from the budget. If you take out defense, if you take out DHS, if you take out Veterans Affairs, how are you going to cut that much money from the remaining pie?
Okay, so what you're talking about is in the debt ceiling, we asked that we go back to what we were spending 5 months ago. 5 months ago, we were spending a lot of money. And what happens is,
If you do all those cuts with a smaller portion of the budget.
okay, let me finish my answer. Okay, so we want to go back to what we were spending 5 months ago. People across the country elect their representatives. What we do is once we set the baseline, we go forward and we decide, Republicans and Democrats, what our priorities. It's the exact same thing that every single American family does. For 21 straight years, we have spent more than we brought in. The Democrats added $6 trillion that brought us inflation, that made us more dependent on China. This won't balance the budget by any means. This won't harm people in any areas. What we'll do is find where the waste is at. You're talking $131 billion, but you know what I hear on the other side? That they have no place that they can cut. The first place, you know where I would go? Since the pandemic's over, since we moved the legislation, even the World Health Organization says it's over, we have $50 to $60 billion right there of the 131 that has been appropriated, but for 2 years has sat there. What if you bring that back to the taxpayers? That's just a start. You're going to tell me you can't find the inefficiencies in government? Because all the Democrats have done, they're inflation-bound Democrats, is spend more money and harm this entire country. We know we can do it together. Did I give you a question? Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
Staff level meetings productive right now? Like, have they been productive and that's why you're giving them more time? Or have they not been productive and that's why?
Look, we have a short time period. If this were staff meetings happening on February 1st, I'd call them productive. When you're sitting here with a few 15 days to go, it really seems to me that the president finally felt the pressure for 100 days of not having a meeting with me. For even though that he sat and met with us on February 1st and told not just myself but all of you in his tweet that we were going to meet again and talk about this, that he told us the next day at the prayer breakfast when he sat next to me and grabbed my forearms, we're going to meet. When he walked up before all the members of Congress at the prayer breakfast and says, we're going to get this solved and meet together. Then change his mind and keep changing every day what somebody had to do until we would pass the bill. I don't think they're that productive. What I truly believe here, looking at the actions of this president, he doesn't want a deal. He wants a default. And the American people do not deserve that. That's why the Republicans actually passed a bill that raised the debt limit in a responsible way, can curb inflation, and grow our economy. So it won't be a question. I mean, the question you have right now is, if the president's take that he wants to do that he can't pass, you're just going to go down and still have more inflation, have a market that continues to drop, or if you pass a bill that limits, saves, and grows, once it passes, our economy is going to grow. We're going to be